right, welcome back to yet another episode of Hank Hacks Hackers. This is your boy Hank Hackerson, and this is part of the PenTest Plus pathway on TryHackMe. So this is the PenTest Plus pathway. We did Metasploit, Wireshark. Today we're going to do Burp Suite, and then we got Hydra, Python Basics, Python for Pentesters. That's going to be happening. I love Python, by the way. And then we got the recon, etc., etc. So this is a pretty nice pathway for CompTIA PenTest Plus. If you don't have your membership of TryHackMe, go ahead and get yourself one, because I don't think this is one of the free rooms. And as you'll see, this is kind of what gets really, really exciting about the TryHackMe stuff, is that they give you all these extra machines and everything that you would need to start attacking and to start actually doing hacking. So we've been doing a lot of theory-based rooms where we just read through and kind of understand concepts and stuff. And this is one of the ones where you're going to be doing hands-on hacking and attacking and stuff like that. So as you just saw, I started the virtual machine right here, as well as the attack box, and you need both of those for yourself. If you're going to be doing this in your own environment, you need at least one machine that you're going to do the scanning against. And then you need your own version of Linux that has Burp Suite community installed on it. And I'm not going to go through these details right here, the getting started stuff. So what is Burp Suite? You can Google that. The features of Burp community, installation, that all of this stuff you can Google. So because this is a long room, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. We're just going to jump into the actual use of Burp Suite so that you can see what it looks like and how it works, and then you'll kind of have a really good understanding of how to use Burp Suite. So make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, turn on the notification bell so that you get notified the next time a video comes from the PenTest Plus pathway. And yeah, I'm just gonna kind of jump into it real quick. We gotta wait for the attack box to fully load. But what you need to know is that we're going to be using the Burp Proxy in tandem, so in conjunction with Firefox. And Firefox has something called FoxyProxy. Let's see if I can find that particular piece. Does it say right here? I'll show you as soon as the machine loads up. And basically what we're going to be doing is using FoxyProxy in the extension of Firefox to turn on our Burp Suite proxy, because if it's not connected to the web browser, it's just not going to work. So, and this was a thing that when I was trying to do it on my own machine, it was kind of giving me some problems, because I just didn't anticipate that I needed an extension for it. So I'm going to start up the web browser, and I'm going to start up Burp Suite community, and then you'll see what I mean by FoxyProxy. So it's kind of a useful little tool. So it's right here. It's in the top right corner. It's an extension that comes with Firefox, and right now it's turned off, and it just uses regular Firefox. And then we can just do turn on the Burp extension, and so really just to kind of show you what that actually looks like. And it's very easy to set up, right? So you just turn on the, let me go back onto this thing. So whenever you click on FoxyProxy options, you can click add, and it'll ask you what you want to add. You can just title it, and then it's going to be HTTP proxy, the IP address or the DNS name, and it's usually the local IP, which I will show you on the other side, and you can do username and password and a port if you want. But this is what the local IP is. So for every machine, this is it pretty much, the 127.0.01. And then there's really nothing else that you needed to do for that. So if we click on edit, you'll see how this was set up. So 127.0.01, port 8080, and there was no username and password attached to it. So really, really basic, very, very easy setup. And once you've done that, and obviously you can call it Burp, because you're going to be using it for Burp Suite. So if we go back, we can just turn it on, and it's already turned on because I clicked on it. And so now, when I go to Burp Suite, open up, buddy. There we go. Now I gotta go to Burp Suite. You can just click next on these intro parts for using the defaults. You don't need to load a configuration file for this exercise anyway, because you're going to be creating your own traffic and then analyzing your own traffic. And once that is up, you can actually start using the proxy. So for example, if we made a request to TryHackMe through the proxy, the request is going to be captured, but it won't load because we won't see it, right? So I'm going to restart this later. Proxy is already turned on, so intercept is already turned on, and it's already loaded some things from our browser. So if I turn this off, go back to the browser, and go to, let's say, actually we should have a thing that we could even start working with, right? Where is it? Where is it? There's an IP address that we should be able to use. Where is the IP address? This thing. Okay, so this is the one that we're going to be using. So if you're not using the attack box and you want to connect to this without the VPN, you can do so once the machine is loaded and the IP address is displayed. So we're going to be going to this thing. So https://10. Are you typing? Did my screen just freeze? https://1010, or wait, why is it doing a dash? It shouldn't be a dash, it should be this. 232. Let's see if anything loads here. It doesn't, so maybe I'll just copy this. Maybe this is where we're actually supposed to go, but there shouldn't be a dash separating it. Okay, so there you go. All right, so this loads, right? And so there's this couple of things on this where we could actually mess around with this website, and one of them is the contact page where you can fill in something, right? And so right now, if I just fill this in, and I'm just gonna do Hank Hackerson, Hank Hacks Hackers at thm.com, and then this will just be a phone number, and then testing 1 2. That'll be our message. So we submit this, it's gonna submit, and your message has been received. Okay? If we go to Burp Suite, nothing's happened here, right? So I'm going to turn this on now, and I'm going to go back to my browser, and we're going to do the same thing. Hank Hackerson, Hank Hacks Hackers, phone number, and did I press enter? I shouldn't have pressed enter. Burp Suite is already capturing something because I think I accidentally pressed enter, but message. If I submit this, it's going to lag, so we're not going to get that final notification that this actually went through. And there should be something that shows up here. Yeah, so this caught it when it wasn't supposed to. So if I turn this off now, it's going to actually go through again. And it says the message has been received. So I'm going to do this one more time, but without having turned the intercept on yet. And message. And so now we're going to turn the intercept on. This is the part that kind of is tedious, but you'll get to see how this actually works. Okay, so now I'll press submit, and we get a notification, and all of these fields should now show up in here, and they don't. That's annoying. But it does show us our host information, which is the website that we were on. We're supposed to be using a form, so everything should have been shown up in the form, which is kind of annoying that it's not showing up. But that's basically how it works. and you can kind of go through everything. So let's just first look at, I may have just gotten ahead of myself, right? So for example, you have the proxy, the intercept is turned on the proxy, and it captures whatever the request is that you just sent. And the big thing to remember is that when you do this, the browser freezes. So it doesn't actually load the success message that, and then you can see up here that it's still working. And it hasn't completed what it's supposed to do, which is send the thing all the way through. And so if we just forward this, let's see if that works. Nope, that did nothing for us. Let's see if this does. Nope, that did nothing for us either. So we can drop it, and browser should load. Still no. Okay, so let me see. If I click submit one more time, let's see if anything happens. It reloaded the thing, but we still didn't capture the information that we wanted to, and I really want to be able to capture that information. So that's the part that I'm trying to make happen. So with the proxy active, a request was made to the website. At this point, the browser making the request will hang, and the request will appear in the proxy tab, giving the view shown in the screenshot. When we finish working with the proxy, we can click the intercept is on to turn it back off, and it will process everything in the actual website on the browser. By default, the login request made through the proxy will show up under the HTTP history, which is right here. So these are all the requests that has been made thus far, and within that should be our request somewhere as well. It's a very, very long list, but here's our request right here. And then we went to contact, there was a get, and there was a post. We tried to post, and let's see if we can actually even find our response in the post maybe. Can I open this if I double click it? I can. And does my stuff show in here? It does not. All right. It's fine. But at least we can see that our requests are being captured, and they show up in the HTTP history. And let's see, there's also proxy specific options, which can be done with clicking on settings. And if we click on settings, we can actually not settings general, there's the proxy settings button. But there's also, I think the proxy tab just shows up as the first tab. Let's see if we click on proxy settings, if that will also just show up as the, yeah, so it's the same. So you can click on settings, and as long as you're under tools and proxy, it'll show you the proxy listener settings, or you could just click on proxy settings and it'll do the same thing for you, right? So for example, in this situation, it says you can use these settings to control which responses are stalled for viewing and editing in the intercept tab. So this is under the response interception rules, which is right here. It says content type header matches text, or the request was intercepted, and you could just do that and check that on. And then the AND URL is in the target scope is another very good default rule, which is right here. So we could do all of those things. We don't necessarily have to right now because I don't think that's a part of the exercise, but it's just telling us what some common rules are that you can set your proxy up with so that it can start capturing things for you. So which button would we use to send an intercepted request to the target in Burp Proxy? And that is the forward button. And we already did that. And so research, what is the default keybind for this? Assume you're using Windows or Linux. And so Control F is just a short key for forward, if you want to forward something. And that would be Control F. And let's go back to our browser. I really want to be able to capture this information. It's kind of bugging me that it's not working. Okay, it forwarded, and now all these other things have loaded. Maybe in here we'll be able to see the content that we're still trying to load. There's a lot of encoded messaging, so maybe that's what it is, that the website is. Look at that. This is all encoded, and you can't see anything that's going on. You have no idea what's happening. All right, so let's go to the next piece right here. Connecting to, through FoxyProxy. Okay, we already talked about this a little bit. Let's actually start using it as it says. So it says connect to FoxyProxy, set it up, and we already talked about it. So click add, title the burp or anything that you want, and then the proxy IP is going to be that. Port 8080 is what we're going to set it up as, and then click save. And then when you see it, you'll actually see burp show up as one of your options. And if we click on the burp config, our browser will start directing all the traffic to this. And be wary, or be warned, excuse me, if Burp Suite is not running, your browser will not be able to make any requests when this is activated. Okay. Now that it's on, turn intercept on and try accessing the home page for so-and-so in Firefox. Your browser should hang, and it should populate with the request header inside our proxy. And you just intercepted your first request. So let's just try that piece just by ourselves, right? We're going to turn this off, and our browser should be open. And you know what, just to kind of make this a little bit more streamlined, because it seems to be that it's taking a sweet time. It's taking a very long time for us to go back and forth between the application. So I'm going to minimize this screen, and I'm gonna extend it and shrink it like this, and then we're just gonna drag the Burp Suite to the right, and then we can just now click back and forth easily on a wider screen. So that should be much easier to manage now. So now I can turn on the intercept one more time. I can go to what it was telling us to do. So what is it telling us to do? It's telling us to go visit this IP address. Copy, paste, and go. And as soon as we press enter, oh, Burp Suite was turned off. Why is Burp Suite turned off? Turn this back on, buddy. Okay. And one more time. Enter. And there we go. We captured our first request in Burp Suite. Just going to this host using Mozilla, and very, very basic, nothing crazy. All right. So proxy HTTPS. So let's see here. If the attack box is already configured to solve the problem in this task, the attack box is already configured to solve this. If you're using the attack box and don't wish to read through the information, you can skip to the next task. So just to kind of give you an understanding in case you're not using the attack box. So we can intercept HTTP. So what's next? There's HTTPS that you want to load, which is stuff like this, right? And usually if you do that, the software, which would be FoxyProxy, typically says that it's preventing Firefox from safely connecting to the site. So we get an error. It's telling us that the port swigger certificate authority isn't authorized to secure the connection. Burp offers us an easy way around this. We need to get Firefox to trust connections secured by port swigger. With the proxy activated, head to burpsurt.com, and it will download a certification called that. save it somewhere on the machine. So with the proxy activated, keep that in mind. Go to here. Then next type about preferences to get to the preferences for Firefox. And it'll take you to the Firefox settings page and find certificates. So you search the settings for certificates. And then there's going to be an option to view the certificates. And then clicking the view certificates will allow us to see all of the trusted CAs. And we can register a new one for PortSwigger by clicking import. And then when you click import, and this is kind of what it's going to show you right here. You click import, you click the cert that you had previously downloaded on your desktop, trust it, and then click OK, and click OK, and it should be there now. And now you can go to Google while your proxy is on, and it'll load Google for you. And that's the whole process, right? So first, you got to actually turn the proxy on. Once you have the proxy turned on, you will go to this burp, so http://burp/cert, and it's going to download the cert file for you, and then you just go through the rest of the processes to upload your certification. But if you already have the attack box, then it's already been configured for you, and you can do that easily. So now, the BurpSuite Browser is something that comes within BurpSuite. It's kind of slow, but I'm going to try to do it anyway. If the last few tasks seemed overly complex, rest assured this topic will be a lot simpler. So in addition to giving us the option to modify a regular web browser, it also includes a built-in Chromium browser. While this may seem ideal, it's not commonly used as it was detailed in the previous task, because people tend to stick with their own browser because it gives you a lot more customizability. Chromium window will now pop up if you click on open browser, so intercept could be off. And then if we are running on Linux as the root user, and as we are with the attack box, the Burp Suite is unable to create a sandbox environment to start the Burp browser, causing an error. And there's two simple solutions. Smart option, we could create a new user and run Burp Suite on a low privileged account. The easy option is you go to Project Options, Miscellaneous Embedded Browser, and check the Allow Embedded Browser to run without a sandbox. Now be aware that if you do this, you will need to do this if you're using the embedded browser on the attack box. Using the built-in browser, make a request to such and such, and there's no final answer that's required, so I'm not going to do that in the interest of time, but it's basically telling you that you can use the built-in browser of this thing right here. You can just click on open browser, and then it's going to tell us that there's an error, and you need to go to settings, Burp's browser, and allow Burp browser to run without a sandbox. I'm not going to do that right now, but it's literally in the settings. Then you go to the Burp browser and check the button that says allow it to run with a sandbox. So scoping and targeting. So now we are going to go to the target portion of Burp Suite, which is one of the more important parts for scoping, right? It can get extremely tedious having Burp capture all of the traffic when it logs everything, including traffic to sites that we're not targeting. It muddles up our logs, as you saw in the previous thing when we were looking at this. When you go here, it just shows you a bunch of freaking things. In this, there's a lot of stuff right here, and you don't necessarily want to see all this when you're going through your research and when you're going through your exercises or your hacks or whatever, right? So in the target tab, so I can just go here and add only this to my scope right here. And now you've added the item to target scope. Do you want Burp Proxy to stop sending out of scope items to the history or other Burp tools? And the answer is what? Yes. And so now if we did anything else, it will only show the stuff that's affiliated with this specific address, which is exactly what we want, because all of this other stuff for our purposes are freaking irrelevant. And that's the key here, right? So you go to target, you choose whichever the website is that you're trying to mess with, and you add it to your scope, and then it brings all of the different pages. So when I click on here, it shows us what? There's an about page, there's the home page, there's a contact page, support, products, and then even the things that aren't visually available here, which is the assets folder, right? The privacy, it's not available here in this menu, but that's all available to us, the tickets, etc., etc. So target, sitemap, and then click on the big thing, not the drop down portion, the actual I forget the technical name for this, but the full domain, and then add that to your scope, and anything that happens within that, for example, all of these things, assets, contact, about, privacy, all of that will be a part of your scope. Okay, so this is our scope, and then we can go back to our proxy settings again, and if I go here, I should be able to see scope settings. And in the scope settings, it shows that this is the IP that's in my scope. And I can add things, move things. We can change certain elements about this, like adding new rules to it, and then out of scope request handling, drop everything that's out of the scope, etc., etc. So this is a pretty overview type of an approach to this exercise, so I do understand that. I know that we're not getting into a lot of the nitty-gritty, and if you haven't used BurpSuite, the idea is to just learn how to capture traffic through the proxy and set up your proxy, so on and so forth, and then we'll be talking about how to forward those requests to the intruder, the repeater, all these other elements of BurpSuite. So sitemap and issue definitions. So the sitemap allows us to map out the apps that we're targeting in a tree structure. Every page that we visit will show up here, allowing us to automatically generate a sitemap for the target simply by browsing around the web app. And BurpSuite Pro would allow us to also spider to the targets automatically. And the community will only, we can still use this to accumulate data while we perform initial enumeration steps, but it won't do a lot of things that Pro will do for you. The sitemap will be especially useful if we want to map out an API, as whenever we visit a page, any API endpoints that the page retrieves data from while loading will show up in the sitemap. And then it'll be in the scope settings. We have already seen the scope settings. It allows us to control the target scope for the project. And then you have issue definitions. We don't have access to BurpSuite Vulnerability Scanner in the community version, because there's a vulnerability scanner that comes with BurpSuite Pro. We still do have access to a list of all the vulnerabilities that it does look for, and the issue definition section gives us a huge list of web vulnerabilities complete with the description and references, which we can draw from that. So there are 3 sub-tabs under target. So we're here, and then you have issue definitions, which gives you the list of vulnerabilities that would be relevant to the website that you're analyzing, the website that you're targeting. And this is it. This is the list of all of these vulnerabilities, and it's a big list. And then you can arrange it by severity, which would be high severity, medium severity, and there's, the stuff that you really, really want is the ones that are high severity. So OS command injection, pretty important, very useful when you're trying to hack somebody. SQL injection, very useful. File path traversal, that once you're actually in there, you can go anywhere within their internal server and traverse their files and their paths and their directories. There's a lot of stuff. And this is all, it's all pretty gnarly. All right, here we go. So an example attack. So here's what we want to do. Having looked at how we can set up and configure the proxy, let's go to a simplified real-world example. So we're going to start by taking a look at the support form at the domain /ticket, and it allows us to do this. In a real-world web app pen test, we would test this for a variety of things, one of which could be cross-site scripting. If we haven't encountered XSS, It can be thought of as injecting a client side. So our side would be a client, and then server side is their back end, usually in some kind of JavaScript, into the web page so that it actually executes. There are various types of XSS. The type that we're using is called reflected, meaning you could actually see it and on your end, the one person that's making the request. So we're going to try to type this into the contact email field, and there should be a filter that prevents you from actually doing it because it'll automatically remove it. And then our client-side filters are absolutely easy to pass because there are a variety of ways that we can disable the script or just prevent it from loading in the first place. One of them could be BurpSuite, right? BurpProxy. So first, make sure that the BurpProxy is active and the intercept is on. And now enter some legitimate data into the support form, for example, the email, and then test it. The request should be intercepted by the proxy, and it should show up here. This is what I was trying to actually get done. So let's first try to see if we can actually pull this off. And let's go to proxy. And then we're going to go here. And I need to make sure that the intercept in the proxy is off first. And it'll load this page for me. And we're going to go to ticket. And so it told us to first go to the ticket, and then before we submit, right, it says make sure that BurpProxy is active and the intercept is on. Now enter the data and then submit the form, and you should be able to see it. So intercept is on. We're going to go here, and we're going to type in the email, pentest@gmail.com, and test message. Submit the query. Please load. Hey, look at that. It actually loaded the information here, right? So now this is what's fun about this, right? So this is what you can do with the power of Burp Suite. So previously, and I mean, it already showed us here that if you try to put any code in here, it will automatically delete it. That's what this little screen capture right here is doing. So any types of code apart from actual text and an email address, something like that, it's going to be automatically deleted. So what we want to do is we want to be able to put this script inside the email address, right? So then when you capture it and intercept is on, we can go and replace the part of the email with our particular code. And then, so here, let's see what the instructions say. Submit the form. With the request captured in the proxy, you can now change the email field to show the script. After pasting the payload, we need to select it and then URL encoded with CTRL-U to make it safe to send. And then once you do that, finally press forward, and then we should get this little attack right here. So I'm going to go here and paste. Where's my little paste button? Where's the little paste? There we go. Paste. Okay, so we have that, and then we're going to highlight this again. And you can do Control-U to make it URL encoded, and then press forward. Oh, there you go. So we had to turn off the intercept. So we're going to press forward. We submitted the little script, and then turn off the intercept so that the browser could actually process. And we got it. Successful XSS. And that was the text that was inside the JavaScript, which is this thing. But in theory, we could literally put any type of script inside that form, forward it, and now you will have successful XSS executed, which is very, very cool. Honestly, Burp Suite was one of the things that I was like, oh my gosh, so this is how you actually do a lot of these hacking things, a lot of these hacking activities through the use of an open source tool called Burp Suite. So that was an introductory, like a very, very introductory room. There's an advanced room that, of course, I'm going to record, and I'm going to show you how to use all of these other elements of Burp Suite, which is the intruder and the repeater, the collaborator, sequencer, so on and so forth. So this is introductory. I realize that. If you have messed with Burp Suite before, then I didn't share anything with you that you didn't already know. But if you've never done it, now you know that there's something that exists that with Burp Proxy, with FoxyProxy, once you set up your Burp Suite proxy, and we already talked about this, so introduction to the Burp Proxy, not this, but FoxyProxy. So this we already talked about, but then there's a lot of documentation on FoxyProxy and how to set it up. It's very easy. You just need this information right here to set it up. And so as long as you have Burp Suite installed, you have FoxyProxy installed, and you've modified it so that it actually is connecting to Burp Suite and capturing the traffic, then you can do exactly what we just did right now. And I simply recommend that you do this with a lot of ethics, and just make sure that you don't do anything that you're not supposed to do. That's all I'm going to say. So it's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, and I hope that you found this video useful. This was a part of the PenTest Plus pathway, and it is an introductory room. I do realize that, but it is very, very useful. So the next tool that we're going to be using is going to be Hydra, which is a password hacker, and that's really fun as well. So it's just going to get more and more fun as we go along this entire path, and as we go along our journey, it's just going to get more and more fun. We're going to go from theory into application, and we're going to go from theory into exercises, and you're going to see how fun being an ethical hacker actually is if you didn't already know. So yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified the next time that we drop something. This was BurpSuite Basics. It's a part of the TryHackMe room. It is a free room, so you could actually do this for free. So make sure you get your membership. There's a link in the description below to give you a discount on top of the free stuff if you ever wanted to go into an official membership with TryHackMe. So if nobody else loves you, I love you. Peace, love, and chicken grease. And I will see you in the next video.